We're having another afternoon on the plot. Very different sort of afternoon weather-wise. We've got used to dodging the drizzly rain, whereas today it's warm and it's sunny. I might even say it's hot and sunny. Anyway, jobs for today. Martin's going to start digging more potatoes. This is our main potato bed. A lot of the potatoes now have died off, and so it's time to get them out of the ground before the slugs have a feast. Whether he'll get all of them up today or not is anybody's guess. Might be a bit warm for digging potatoes. My first job of the afternoon is something that I've planned to do for a week or two now, and that's to sort out the strawberry bed. At this end especially, the strawberries have produced lots and lots of runners. At the far end, Martin's watering the strawberries because they look as though they're in desperate need of it. Despite the drizzly weather, the rain hasn't really penetrated that deeply.
So, just have a look at these.
And quite different, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
It's deceptive. We've had rain, but it's not really been useful rain, has it?
Yeah.
So you tend not to have watered because you think it's wet enough, but it's probably not. Anyway, I suppose we better get on, hadn't we?
We had.
So we'll see in a bit. The net's off the strawberries now, which was a bit tricky, as some of the runners had actually grown through the nets. It's quite a lot of runners for me to cut off. We're not going to retain any this year. If we wanted to add to our strawberry stock, then it would be these runners that we would pot up. Just to find an example. So here we've got a runner from one of the strawberry plants, and you can see there's quite a big plantlet growing just there. That would be the one that if we were going to keep any, we would keep. Once they've produced one little plantlet, they actually go on to produce more. You can see this one's branched off, and along this branch it's produced a second plantlet. If we were going to retain any plantlets, which we're not going to do this year, we would just take this first one. You only ever should take the first runner nearest to the plant. Anyway, all I'm going to do is to chop them all off. I'll get back to you again later.
After a couple of poor weeks of weather, it's pretty warm today. Summer's returned to the allotment. Anyway, I'm still going to have a go at getting these potatoes up. Just carry on steady, see where we go. So these Cara are going to come up first. First job though is to pull this Enviromesh weed control fabric off them. I've taken the tops off because that just makes it a bit easier to pull the fabric back, so I'll have a look now and see how difficult this turns out to be. But this is usually the first sign of whether we've got a decent crop or not. I'm hoping these aren't all wireworm attacked like the rocket were in the beds adjacent to these. It's always a bit tricky pulling this back. Amazingly dry underneath. To say I think we've had a wet... Well, it hasn't been wet, I don't suppose, it just seems that way. So I can tell they are Cara because they've got that tinge of red at the shoots, the eyes of the potato. And then the rest of this row are Casablanca, which will have finished ages ago. So at first sight, they certainly don't look too bad, these spuds. These Cara look a decent size. Interesting to see just how they come out, whether they are damaged or not. But the ones that you can see on top look fairly okay to me. So once we lose the red eyes, we're on to Casablanca. I think it's safe to say it's Casablanca then, all along this row. So I'm going to make a start now and see what they're like when they come out of the ground. Right then, we're going to have a go now at Casablanca Route 2. Route 1 wasn't so bad, a little bit of damage, some decent size potatoes. Ground is hard and dry though, much drier than I thought it would be. So I'm going to start about here and hope I don't spear any. And as you can see, it's quite tricky to get a fork in. And just look at this. These are all the signs of spuds that are too wet, with these little white nodules on them. Absolutely amazing. It seems absolutely bone dry, but this root is actually quite rubbishy compared to the one I've just dug. That one is rotten, and if I didn't know anything else, I'd say that might even be blight. There's another one, another ginormous spud, but ruined on this side. So all that's come out of this one is a few tiny spuds, and the rest, another one there, look. I didn't want those to go anywhere but a council bin, so this route, an absolute horror show. Well, if they're all like, I've had one excellent route and one very poor one, so I have no idea now what to expect. But just strange that some of the ground is so dry and yet some is so wet. It has been a really odd gardening year. Well, I think the next route is going to be Casablanca, so I'll see what's on that. I'll just readjust the camera. Well, these are coming out much better. It's drier, far drier. Spuds, as far as I can tell at a quick inspection, are undamaged. So as I'm working my way into this bed, the soil is definitely in better nick than it was at the end of the bed, and that could be what's caused the demise of those Cara potatoes. So I'll see what I can get now off the rest of these Casablancas. So I've got the first row up of our, what I'd like to think of as our real key potato crop. Started off pretty badly with a few roots of Cara. First root, those weren't too bad, but nothing great. Some decent sized spuds, but a few with wireworm damage. And then that second root I dug was complete rubbish, and they can go straight in the bin. The next lot that were in this row were Casablanca, early potato, but in the past we've kept them well into the new year, and they produced another good crop this year. So these are our Casablancas that came up out of this bed. Odd one has a little bit of damage, but in general they're fine. There's some stuff there that's going straight in the bin. And then we had a few roots of Vivaldi, not as many as Casablanca, just about 4 or 5, 1, 2, 4 I think there were, 4. So that's the crop off 4 roots of Vivaldi, and again, generally okay. I can see a couple of damaged ones, but vast majority decent sized spuds and no problem. And then final at the end we had 4 roots of Sarpo Mira. Disappointing. Always think of Sarpo Miras producing large spuds. Well, it did 1 or 2, but in general they were quite small. Didn't think there was a lot of damage. Odd ones had a bit of damage, but in general they're quite small. So I'll have to see what comes off the rest. So there's another 6 roots of Sarpos to come up over there, and another 8 roots of Vivaldi, and then working down there's a row of Kestrel and a row of Cara. They'll be quite difficult to split where they mix because they both have red coloured eyes, but the task for today is I'm going to tidy up this edge, finish digging over this bit, and then the weed control fabric can come back over. And I think in this nice warm weather the spuds will probably have dried off enough to bag up. So I'll see where I get to for the rest of the afternoon. Got this bit of the bed dug over. Rather warm work today, but it's done now, so I'm going to cover this up. I'll probably stay like this till next spring, covered up, although I do need to have a bonfire somewhere, so I'm not too sure where I'm going to have that just yet. Anyway, I'm going to put this weed control fabric back down and then move it to get the remaining Kestrel. There's a row of Kestrel, Cara, the ones with the green top still. There's some Vivaldi in the middle that arms have died off, and these at this end are Sarpo Mira. So I'm going to see how much of that I can do another day. But just tidy this up. I'll just pull this weed control fabric the best I can. I'll probably have to find something just to hold it in place, just in case it gets really windy. We're supposed to be getting some good weather for the next week, certainly the next 5 days over the bank holiday. In general, I'm pleased with the crop we've got off this. It was a sort of a clearing crop. I'm hoping it wasn't as bad as that set of rocket potatoes, and it wasn't.
Whilst Martin's been digging his potatoes, our potatoes, I've tidied up the main strawberry bed. This is all the debris that I've got from it, mainly runners. It's produced a prolific amount of runners. And this is how it looks now. It's also been watered because it did look as though some of the plants were in need of a bit of refreshment. Especially the ones at this end. Been smelling the buddleia all the while that I've been doing this, and there's been lots of butterflies on and bees, but I'm presuming that now they'll have all disappeared. A quick look. There's some white ones fluttering around. But I did see a red admiral a few minutes ago, and we've had painted ladies and peacock butterflies all over these plants. But of course, there are none about now. One bit of nature I can show you is a giant puffball. So we'll leave it there.